Good evening, everyone.
Yes, sir.
So I'm holding the middle of Perek Mem Vav on page 130. So last week, we started learning about this new avenue to Avos Hashem, an avenue which is Kamayim Hapanim Lapanim Kein Lev Ha'adam La'adam. Understanding that through contemplating Hashem's great love for us, that automatically evokes within us, within our heart, the corresponding love for Hashem. That's human nature. When one person loves another, and as Alter Rebbe says, especially when one person shows that love and that affection to the other, so that causes an automatic reaction of love back. So when we contemplate Hashem's love towards us, that awakens within us a love for Hashem. And the Alter Rebbe says, what is this love for Hashem that we contemplate? Thank you very much. So Alter Rebbe gives a mashal of a great king, a great and powerful king, who leaves his palace and leaves the capital and goes to the outskirts of the city, to the garbage dump, and sitting over there is a lowlife who's covered in filth, and the king goes and personally extracts him from the garbage pile and brings him into the royal palace and ushers him into the area of the palace, the inner sanctum of the palace, a place where no minister and no eved, no servant is allowed in there. And he enters into this incredible relationship with this commoner, the simple person, a relationship with hugging, with kissing, and with complete unification of the soul, of the spirit. What's called Izdapkus Rucha Berucha. And the Alter Rebbe says that even if this person, this commoner, even if his heart even if he has a heart of stone, the heart will melt and will turn into water and will spill out with incredible love for this king. It says the Alter Rebbe that we have to contemplate the fact that exactly this, exactly like this, except an infinitely greater and much more so, this is what Hashem did to us. Because we were in a garbage dump. We were in Mitzrayim, which is Ervas Haaretz, which was the most spiritually repugnant place in the world. And we were covered in filth ourselves. As we know that when the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, and when they went through the Yam Suf, so the Malachim turned to Hashem and says, why are you saving these people? They're Evdei Avodah Zarah. So we ourselves it's not only that we were in Mitzrayim in a place which was filthy, but we ourselves, remained pristine and remained clean and pure. No, we were also had become filthy. And nevertheless, Hashem came down. Hashem himself, he didn't send any messengers. Exactly, Hashem himself, in his glory, came down into Mitzrayim, and due to his great love for us, he pulled us out of Mitzrayim, and he brought us into the royal palace. And he gave us the Torah and the mitzvahs, and through Torah and mitzvahs, we have this incredible relationship with Hashem, this incredible unity with Hashem. And as you mentioned last time, that when we learn Torah, every time we say words of Torah, that's us being kissed by Hashem. And every time we understand Torah, that's the Izdapkus Rucha Berucha, that's the union of spirits with Hashem. And when we do a mitzvah, we're being hugged by Hashem. So when we think into this, we can't help but to be aroused with an incredible love for the Eibishter, for the Rabbi Naftali, for doing us this incredible chesed and for his incredible love that he has for us. And that's what we're holding right now, and we're going to continue 3 lines from the bottom of page 130. And this is what we say. Every time before we do a mitzvah, we say, Asher Kiddeshanu b'mitzvaysav. So the simple meaning of the words Asher Kiddeshanu b'mitzvaysav is that he sanctified us, he made us holy with his mitzvahs. But Alter Rebbe is going to say that the word Kiddeshanu also has a parallel to the word Kiddushin. Ka'adam ha'mekadesh isha. That Hashem was mekadosh us, asher kiddeshanu. He married us b'mitzvaysav, by giving us His mitzvahs. As we know, that when did we receive the Torah? And when did we receive the mitzvahs? By Matan Torah. And Matan Torah is called Yom Chasanaseh. That is our chasana with Hashem. In fact, many of the minhagim that we have by chasana are taken from Matan Torah, taken from the Maimid Har Sinai, because that is our chasana. Why is that our chasana? Because that's when Hashem gave us Torah and mitzvahs. Ka'adam ha'mekadosh isha, like a person who marries a woman, liyos miyuchadas imoy. The purpose is to be miyuchad with him, to be one and united with him, with a complete yichud. Kamesha Kasav, as the pasuk says, v'davak bi'ishtay v'hayu lebasar echad. That a person connects to his wife, v'hayu lebasar echad, and they become one flesh. Kacha mamish, the exact same thing. V'yasar al kates le'in kates, and infinitely more so, hu yichud nefesh o lekis, is the yichud of the nefesh o lekis ha'isekes b'teira mitzvahs. When a person is involved in learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, the nefesh achiyunis uluvushay and hanal, not only the neshama but also the nefesh hamis, and the levushim of the nefesh hamis, the machshava dibur ma'isa of the nefesh hamis, their yichud ba'ir ein seif baruch Hu, with the infinite light of Hashem, is comparable to marriage. So Asher Kedeshana b'mitzvaysav. This goes back, we're talking to the mashal, how Hashem, He pulled us out of the garbage dump for what? To unite with us in a complete way, and that is through the Torah and through the mitzvahs, by Torah and mitzvahs. And that's the incredible love that Hashem has for us. He gave us Torah and He gave us the mitzvahs, and thereby we have this Asher Kedeshanu. We're married, like v'hayu lebasar echad. To understand a little the greatness of what we're saying over here, if we could talk a few moments about marriage, about what the marriage relationship is about. We know that in the beginning of creation, Hashem created many, many different species of animals. And He created also, I want to say lahavdil, He created also the human being, He created Adam Rishon. But there's a fundamental difference in between the way He created the animals and the way He created Adam. And that is, all the animals were created, they were created in pairs, Zachar and Nekeva. Whereas the human being was created,
cleave together,
was created as a single unit. And then at a certain point in time, Adam realizes, that's no fair. everyone has a mate, and me, why am I alone? Right, why am I alone? So what does the Eibush to do? Hashem makes a surgery, and He takes out part of Adam Arishan and turns it into a woman. So there are a lot of questions over here. Number one, why didn't Hashem create Adam and Chava together? Why didn't He create, just like He created all of the species, He created a male and female. So why over here also didn't He create in the same way?
To show we're different.
But there are many ways He can show we're different. What's up is this way?
Very good question.
What?
That's a very good question.
Okay.
That was thought about
both male and female.
Because you have to look for your rib later.
But why lechatchila didn't He just create a male and a female like He did every other species? He knew that there's going to be needed male and female.
Originally He was both.
But all other animals weren't created both and then separated. They were created individuals. And then when Adam realizes he needs a mate, the same Hashem who created the heavens and the earth and everything within them, and He created everything, something from nothing, yesh mi'ayin. Suddenly Hashem says, okay, I ran out of raw materials. If I'm going to create a woman, I need to do a surgery. I need to extract part of you and build it into a woman. Why didn't He just create a woman? Just like He created the man. Now that Hashem realized, oops, we missed something. Create a woman.
So every week have a restaurant called it.
Sorry. So it's actually, the Rashba says, and one of the tshuvas of the Rashba says that in order to have the v'hayu lebasar echad, in order to have that the dveikus, the connection between husband and wife, should be an absolute unity, they could not be created separate. Because if they were created originally as two separate beings, even if they were to marry and even if they were to come together, you wouldn't be able to have a hayu lebasar echad. They wouldn't become one. The only way that they can truly become one is if originally they started out as one, and then they're divided, and then you bring them back together. It's just a matter of reuniting two halves that were originally parted, and that's why you can have this complete dvekus. And this is what it talks about in the Zohar also. The Zohar says that when Hashem sends the neshamas down in the world, the neshama contains both a male and a female component, and then when it comes into the world, it divides, it splits, and one enters into a man and one enters into a woman, and then when they come together, that's the reuniting of a single neshama. The Alter Rebbe talks about it in one of his mamarim, and he says this is why there's a tremendous joy by a chasana. What's the reason for a tremendous joy of a chasana? He says, imagine if you have two friends that didn't meet each other for many, many years, closest of friends, and then you reunite, there's a tremendous joy. That's the joy that we're experiencing by a chasana, is the two halves of the neshama, which are originally one, but they've been separated for so many years. When they finally are reunited, that brings about this tremendous simcha. And this idea that in a wedding, you have Pasha, two entities come together to make one entity, is actually also something which is not only in the chelik of Drush and the chelik of Nister of Torah, but it's also in the Gemara. The Gemara says in Masechtas Ksubis, the Gemara says that Ishtoi is Gufay Havoy. You know, it's popularly said as Ishtoi Kegufay, but the words of the Gemara is Ishtoi Gufay Havoy. The wife is the same, it's part of the same guf. And there's an interesting halachic application over here, if you can just go off a drop on a tangent. The halacha is, it's brought down, Mesechtas Gittin is brought down, that if there's, today, Baruch Hashem, we don't have this that much, but long times Pidyon Shvuyim was a very big deal. I mean, yeah, today Pidyon Shvuyim also, but in a different way. But long times you had pirates, and you had bandits, they would literally go and they would abduct people and they would sell them on the slave market. And a big mitzvah, Pidyon Shvuyim, is to go and redeem Jewish captives and redeem them so they shouldn't be shavri, they shouldn't be enslaved. However, the halacha is the Chacham made a takana that we're not allowed to be poida, you're not allowed to ransom the shvuyim, you're not allowed to ransom captives for more than they're worth. Now, how much is a human being worth? Where are we to estimate what a human being is worth? But it means that, unfortunately, in the old times there were slave markets, and there was a value. There's a market value for a human being, I guess, depending on the age, depending on the strength, depending on the talents.
Why? Because
Body
they
build.
encourage more people to be kidnapped.
One of the reasons why Chazal say, even though the l'chera, there is no Pidyon Shvuyim it's called a mitzvah rabbah. It's a tremendous mitzvah. We can only imagine how great a mitzvah it is to redeem someone from a life of captivity. But still, one of the reasons given is for takanas ha'olam. What's going to happen is, if these criminals they come to understand that Yidden are willing to pay exorbitant prices to redeem, so what's going to happen is they're going to start targeting Yidden. So therefore, the Chazal said we cannot be. Yeah, we have to make every effort to be paid. Obviously, any Yid who falls into that unfortunate situation, but not for more than they're worth.
Gilad Shalit.
There's a great book called Ransom. I don't know if you ever read it, about this great rabbi who said they shouldn't ransom him.
The Maram of Rottenberg. Yeah.
Yeah, Maram Rottenberg. Yes. Right.
Now, nevertheless, the Gemara says in Masechtas Ksubis, we know that when as part of a Jewish marriage, there's the Ksuba document, and there's the obligations that are written in the Ksuba, but many other obligations that are not written, but which are part of the Ksuba, part of the package, which are automatic obligations that the husband obligates himself towards the wife, and vice versa in marriage. And one of the obligations that a husband obligates himself when he gets married is that if Chas v'shalom, the wife ever is taken into captivity or is abducted, that he has to ransom her. And actually he's obligated to pay up to 10 times her market value. He could pay more if he wants to, but he's obligated. That's part of the obligations of the ksuba, is the husband is obligated to pay up to 10 times the market value of the
If
wife.
it's the opposite, if the husband was
The way it used to work in times of Chazal is that the men were the breadwinners. The other way didn't really work usually. The women wouldn't have the means, wouldn't have the means to be able to do so. But that's one of the obligations of the Ksubah. So Taisvis asks,
Why is this different from the Tikkun?
why is this different? If once we have this principle, which is that we don't ransom captives for more than their value, for fear that it might
Give them an incentive.
right, it might incentivize these bandits to go into to kidnap more Yidden. So how do we obligate this person to pay 10 times the value? And not only does he obligated to pay 10 times the value, but if he wants, he can pay whatever he wants. He can pay $1 billion also if he has the means. So Tosfos says, what do you mean? What do you mean? A person's wife is gufay havoy. That's the same as the person himself. So just like you're allowed to spend as much money as you want on yourself, there's no limitations on the amount you're allowed to spend on yourself. The same thing is, there's no limitation on how much you can spend on your wife because there's one guf. And then Tosfos says something very interesting. It brings down that the Gemara says in Masechtas Gittin that there was a wealthy person whose name was Levi, and his daughter was abducted. And he spent 12,000 dinar, which is an incredible amount of money, in order to redeem her from captivity. And the Chazal, so the Tosfos says, but we're not sure if the Chazal approved of what he did. He might have done the wrong thing. And why is that, says Tosfos? Because you can't compare the relationship of a person with his wife and that of a person and his daughter, which is very counterintuitive. Very counterintuitive. Most of us think that the thickest relationship, the deepest relationship is that of blood, parents and children, brothers and sisters, but halacha says no. The deepest relationship is that between
husband and
a
wife.
husband and a wife. And we have that actually in next week's parsha. When Yaakov is talking to Yosef, and he's describing the passing of Rachel, so he says, "Va'ani bevoi mipadan mesa alai Rachel." Rachel died on me. And Rashi notes from Chazal, it brings down what is mesa alai, that ein isha mesa ela lebaila. That when a woman dies, who is the one who feels it most acutely is her husband. And we have the same thing also the other way around, is that in Rus, when it says Vayamas Elimelech ish nami, so there also Chazal say, we already know that Elimelech is the husband of Nami. You had it already in the previous psukim. Why are we repeating over here Vayamas Elimelech ish nami? So again, Chazal say, because ein ish meis ela leishtay, that when a man dies, who's the one? So what's pshat taken? What's pshat? Is that the relationship of marriage is unique, going back to what we were talking about earlier, in that it's take two halves coming together and to make one whole. And there is no other relationship like that. So in every other relationship, whether it's a parent, whether it's a sibling, whether it's a close relative that passes away, so pshat is that something very, very near and dear to you has passed away. But when a spouse passes away, it's not something near and dear. When a spouse passes away, a part of the other spouse passes away also, because it's one guf.
Unity.
And we see that also in life. You have parents and children, they love each other very much. There's no question about it. But the father, the mother, they have their life, and the children, al ken yazavish, the children have their own life. Their own life. And by the way, the Al-Shikh says, al ken yazavish esav v'simoy. So he says, al ken, because of what just happened, because of this operation with Adam and Chava, therefore Yazav Ish in all generations, Yazav Ish Esav V'simei V'hoyu L'basar Echad. It's not only Adam and Chava. Because of that original dynamic, which physically happened with Adam and Chava, but spiritually happens with every couple, because spiritually every couple, their neshamas were divided before and reunited. And that's why the only relationship wherein you have two people who share a life is that of husband and wife. I have my children, they're growing a little older, and they have their own life. I love them very much. They love me very much. But ultimately, they live in their world and I live in my world. And although, again, it's a great relationship, I hope, I believe so. But at the end of the day, it's not about coming together and having a single life, a single unit. That's a bias naman b'Yisrael. When two people come together, and there is no me, there is no you. There's only us. There's only a we, right? Because we have together, we have our goals, two people become one. It's not only a mystical, spiritual thing of the neshamas. That's really what marriage is two people sharing a life. And there is no other relationship. Your best friend, you can love your best friend, but you don't share your life with your best friend. You have your life, they have their life. And you like talking with each other, and you like being with each other. Same thing is true with your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your children. You have your life, they have their life, hopefully, in a healthy family dynamic. You have your life, and they have their life. But in marriage, it doesn't work that way. It's not, I have my wife, I have my life, and my wife has her life, and once in a while we get together and we talk to each other. No, we have a life together, and our whole life is tied together. Every part of our life is tied together. And that is the reason why marriage, again, is the deepest relationship that there is.
So
it might not be the most durable relationship. There are other relationships that are more steady. And marriage might and as you say, marriages can be ended. And there are the ups and the downs. That's all true. So in terms of it's not the most stable relationship, it's not the most durable relationship. But when the marriage relationship is working right, it's the deepest relationship. There is no one else that you share that kind of relationship with like you share with your spouse.
It's true.
Comes along the Alter Rebbe over here and says, now think what that means. That every single time we do a mitzvah, we say, Asher Kiddeshanu b'mitzvaysav, that the Eibishter married us. Kiddeshanu, he was mekadesh us. Let's read the words again. Ka'adam, 3 lines from the bottom. Ka'adam ha-mekadesh isha. That the Eibishter, through the mitzvahs, is like a person who marries a woman. Liyais miyuchadas imay beyichud gamar, to be united with that woman in a complete unity. And now we're understanding this is a relationship which there is no other sort of relationship that compares to that in this world. No other relationship. Not even the parent-child relationship. Kameshikasav, as the pasuk says, "V'davak be'ishtoi v'hayu lebasar echad." That the relationship with a wife is one in which you become davak. There's absolute dveikus. V'hayu lebasar echad. You become one flesh. Says the Alter Rebbe, kacha mamish, the exact same thing. V'yeser al kates lein kates, v'yeser al kain lein kates, and infinitely more so is our yichud with Hashem when we learn Torah and we do mitzvahs. Let's go back to what we said earlier. Kamayim hapanim lapanim. Can you imagine that? The Eibishter was mekadesh us. We're married to the Eibishter. We're one. When we learn Torah and mitzvahs, we're one. Why are we one? So this is something which we've discussed in Tanya many times up until this point. This idea that the truth is that Ein Od Milvado, that everything is one with the Eibishter. However, in every single thing in this world, there's what's called Hester Panim. We've talked about this many times. The idea of Hester Panim, which means that the Pnimius of Hashem is hidden within everything. So we don't see the Elokus, the godliness within everything. The only place where there is no Hester Panim, is in Torah and mitzvahs. So when we learn Torah, we do mitzvahs, we completely lose our ego, we completely lose our identity, absolute yichud with Hashem, like a marriage. And when you think about that, can you help not being aroused with this tremendous ahava back to Hashem? When you think about what Hashem did, from Mitzrayim, from the most lowest depraved place, He pulled us out, and what did He do? He married us. He united with us in this incredible love, incredible unity. And therefore, 3 lines from the top of page 7. And therefore, Himshel Shleima Alav Hashalom B'Shir Hashirim Yichud Zeh. The Shleima Melech compares in the Sefer Shir Hashirim. He compares this unity of ours with Hashem, L'Yichud Chasan V'Kala, The yichud of Hashem and Klal Yisrael is like the yichud, the unity of a chassan and kala, b'dveika, with attachment, chasheka, and desire, v'chafetza, and want, b'chibuk, v'nishuk, with hugging and with kissing. And the reason why is because the tremendous love that there is between husband and wife is a reflection of the tremendous attachment, of the incredible unity. And the same thing is with us and Hashem. The incredible unity that we have with Hashem. When learning Torah, when doing mitzvahs, expresses itself in this tremendous love that there is between us and Hashem. We're talking here about how Shlomo HaMelech, how he describes the relationship between Hashem and Klal Yisrael as a relationship between a chassan and a kala. So the Frierdiker Rebbe once said, in the name of one of the chassidim of the previous generations, he said that we know that Shlomo HaMelech wasn't a chassid. How do we know he wasn't a chassid? Because if he was a chassid, then he would have written Shir HaShirim not about a love story between a man and a woman, but about the relationship between a chassid
And the rabbi.
and the Rebbe. Now, the Shlomo HaMelech was looking for what's the greatest, deepest, most incredible and powerful relationship that there is. So what he identified in this world was a relationship between a man and a woman, a chassid and a kala. Had he been a chassid, obviously this is what we call a little al derech hatzachos. That's a little humorous. But had he been a chassid, he would have said the greatest relationship and connection is that between chassid and Rebbe. So why am I mentioning this? Because Bashgacha Pratis today, we know by Chassidei Chabad today is a Yom Tov, Hey Tevis. We spoke about this last week about buying Sfarim, and after the Shir, if you go down, everyone can go down and be Mekayim, the Heira of the Rebbe to buy some Sfarim, a Sefer, some Sfarim, and there's going to be a 40% discount downstairs. What happened, Hey Tevis? Now, this is to bring out a little about the relationship between a chassid and a Rebbe, and it's somewhat tangentially related to our learning in Tanya today. What happened, Hey Tevis? So some of you might remember. Some of you, this is back in 1987. The story started a little earlier. The story started in 1985. The previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak of Lubavitch, he passed away in 1950, and he had 3 daughters. The youngest daughter, her name was Rebbe Shena. Her and her husband were killed by the Nazis, Yimach Shemam. They died in Treblinka. So there were 2 surviving daughters. One daughter was married, Rebbe Chaim Mushka was married to the Rebbe. The other daughter was married to the Rashag. He was that's the oldest daughter, the oldest son-in-law. The Rashag himself was a tremendous chassid of the Rebbe. He ran the yeshiva system in Chabad, the Tamchit Mimim. He was very, very devoted, first to his father-in-law, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and afterwards to his brother-in-law, the Rebbe. But the Rashag, together with the oldest daughter of the Frierdiker Rebbe, they had one child. And this child, so he left the Chabad fold already back in the 50s. He wasn't very happy that the Rebbe became Rebbe and not his father. He had figured that his father would become the Rebbe. So already back in the early 50s, he left. He was nominally from, but he didn't really associate with Lubavitch. At a certain point in the 1980s, around 1985, so he started coming in to the Frierdiker Rebbe had this tremendous library called the Library of Agudas Tzedek Chabad, filled with many. Not. We're here in a beautiful library also, but we're talking here a valuable library, a priceless library, because in addition to Sfarim, first of all, they also had a lot of very old Sfarim and first prints, but also many manuscripts and many different artifacts. The Baal Shem Tov Tefillin, the Baal Shem Tov Siddur was there. What?
Is the Sfarim in Russia that is still holding the Sfarim? This Frierdiker Rebbe?
The Sfarim in Russia were part of that library, and hopefully one day will be reunited. Yes, because when the Frierdiker Rebbe, so part of the library was left in Russia. Yes, and it's still there. And the Russians are not letting it out, not yet. Mirz Hashem, they also, the Sfarim will have a Geula Shleima and find its rightful place back into the Rebbe's library also.
Even now?
Yeah,
Now?
so
Being held?
Yeah.
The big library. Yeah.
It's called the Schneer, Isa Schneer, the Schneerson. I don't remember exactly how it got there. In other words, that might be still from the Rebbe Rashab, actually. I'm not sure. The Rebbe Rashab might have left that when he ran away from Lubavitch. Maybe not. Maybe Friedrich Rebbe. But bottom line is, there's a large amount of Sfarim still in Russia. Sfarim and manuscripts, Sfarim that were used by the Rebbe's, manuscripts, many artifacts. For example, in the Rebbe's library, there's a tremendous amount of Haggadahs they have over there. Old print Haggadahs. It's a priceless library. It's not a library like this library, which is open for anyone who wants to come and read, but if it's open for researchers. And I know sometimes in my work also, I'll be looking for a sefer, I can't find it, like a rear sefer that was printed.
By 770, that library?
Yeah, you can go visit it. They always have what's called taruchot. They always have like exhibits. They have changing exhibits there. But if you're like a researcher or looking for a sefer, you go there and you can ask for the sefer. You can look it up. Go to chabadlibrary.org and you can look it up. They have a catalog. They have all the svarim they have and everything. And if you need it, they'll bring it out to you. There's a reading room there and you can take notes. So it's used. It's used by people who are looking for the rear svarim, older prints, etc. So although the library is priceless, but there is also a price to be put on on a lot of the things over there. So the grandson of the Friedrich Rebbe, his name was Barry Gerari. So he went and he was helping himself to Sfarim and he was selling them. And at a certain point in time, it was discovered and that he was taking Sfarim and taking things. And the Rebbe obviously was very upset about it. And the Rebbe says, "What do you mean? These belong to Lubavitch. They don't belong to any individual person. They don't belong to any, not to be sold, obviously, but they're not the property of any individual.
Not for sale.
And they're not for sale. So they tried going to Din Torah, but he wouldn't go to Din Torah. So they had no choice. And they got a heter, and they went and they took him to court. This is 1986. They took him to court, and many of the Chassidim, and the Rebbe was so bothered by this. The Rebbe was screaming about this, the chutzpah of taking Svarim. And
did they ever got them back, the Svarim that he sold?
They got back, I believe, all the Svarim, maybe one or two that are missing, but they pretty much got back everything. But it was like, and to be honest, many Lubavitchers were scared. Because this guy seems to have, at least from a secular perspective, from a legal perspective, he seems to have a pretty solid case. My grandfather had a library. My grandfather had two daughters. Okay, so half of it can go to one daughter, and that will go to the Rebbe. And I get half also. And it seems to be a pretty strong case. Mm-hmm. But as we know that on Hey Tevis, so the trial was in Tavshin Mem Vav, was in 1985, the end of 1985. It started Yutas Kislev, which that Chassidim already saw that as a very good sign that it started on Yutas Kislev. And he actually wanted to get it postponed. He didn't want it to start in Yutas Kislev, and he was not able to get that postponement. And it went for a few weeks, and during those few weeks, the Rebbe went to the oil every single day. The Rebbe went to his father-in-law's kever to daven every single day for hours. Every day during the court case, and it ended a little after Hanukkah. But the ruling didn't come in for another year. Came in on Hey Tevis, and on Hey Tevis the judge ruled in favor of Agudas Chassidei Chabad, that the library 100% belongs to Agudas Chassidei Chabad, and that became a very big Yom Tov. And the Rebbe asked that this Yom Tov be commemorated or observed, that in Hey Tevis, to everyone should buy Sfarim, Now so he went and he appealed, and a year later the appeal was denied, and this farm came back. In other words, right away what happened was, as soon as they went to court, they took all the farm that he took, and they put them in an escrow, I guess. They put it in a safe place. And after the appeal was denied, on Beis Kislev Tavshin Mem Ches is when all the Sfarim were returned.
How many Sfarim were taken?
I don't know.
Approximately?
I don't know, but you see in the video of when the Sfarim come back, it's a van pulling in, a cargo van, and you see them taking boxes of Sfarim into 770. So I don't know what.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But the obvious question is what is the significance of this whole thing of Hey Tevis? So there was a disagreement, but who belongs? It's very nice. The Rebbe won. Sfarm came back to Lubavitch. Why the big deal? Why was the Rebbe so upset? So let him have some Sfarim. And we don't want him to have the Sfarim, so buy some Sfarim from him. In other words, what is the spiritual significance to the extent that today, last night, if you went to 770, there's a big Farbringen, and it's considered Hey Tevis. In Crown Heights today, a lot of people are walking around wearing kapatas today. It's on that level. And the question really is, what is the significance of this day of Hey Tevis? And the Rebbe pointed several times, especially after the Rebbetzin passed away. The Rebbe's wife passed away around a year later. End of 1986 is when the case was, and the Rebbetzin passed away at the beginning of 1988. And during the case, they deposed the Rebbetzin. The lawyers came to the house, and they took a deposition. They actually wanted to get the Rebbe to come to court also. They tried more than once to force the Rebbe to come to court, but Baruch Hashem, their attempts were unsuccessful. In other words, the judge ruled twice that the Rebbe doesn't have to come to court. Which obviously that would have been disrespectful to the Rebbe, so that was a big joy b'chsidim that the Rebbe himself didn't have to go to court, but the Rebbetzin was deposed. And there's actually a video of the deposition, and we can watch it today. I don't know if it's available online, but I've seen the video. There's a video of the deposition of the Rebbe's wife. And one of the things they asked over there, amongst the many things they asked the Rebbetzin, was, so who did this farm belong to? Who did the library belong to? Did the library belong to your father? Or did the library belong to the Chassidim? Because that was really the crux of the case. That Chabad said the library belongs to the Chassidim. And the other side said no, it was a personal property. So the Rebbetzin said these words. And the Rebbe repeated them, again, after she passed away several times, and the Rebbe said these words were very influential in the case. She says, the Sfarim belong to Chassidim because my father also belonged to the Chassidim. That's what she said. In other words, this Sfarim couldn't have belonged to my father because my father didn't have any private property. My father belonged to the Chassidim and therefore everything that he has also belongs to Chassidim. My father wasn't a private person who had private property. And what's amazing is that this judge in a federal court actually accepted this argument. What? This argument.
He was goy, the judge?
The judge was a goy. It was Charles Sifton. He was a goy. Passed away a few years ago. And if you think into the significance of this, what the judge was saying is he's turning to Barry Gary and saying, you're the physical grandchild of your grandfather, but you don't get his stuff. Who does it go to? Who are the real heirs? Who are the real Yarshim? It's me and you and you and you and you and you. The Chassidim.
Wow.
That's what Hey Tevis was. That a goyish judge recognized the relationship between a chassid and a rebbe, and affirmed it. The United States, the federal government, because it was a federal case, the federal government of the United States acknowledged and recognized the skashers, the bond which there is between a chassid and a rebbe. That incredible bond, which is even stronger than a bond that a rebbe has with physical family members. And why is that? Because a rebbe is Rosh B'nai Yisrael, and the Rosh is the idea of the head. That's a very symbolic idea. The head of the body, just like what is we're talking about the relationship between a husband and a wife. That's amazing. How about the relationship between a foot and the head? How's that for a relationship? That's also a very, very strong relationship, or even stronger. Wow. And that's what we start. If Shlomo HaMelech would have known about Chasna Rebbe, he'd have written about that. Because that is and the court cases, we know in Chabad we have this thing that everything that plays on the physical world is about a spiritual reality. And therefore the fact that there was a court case and there was this issue is because there was a kitrug in the Shamayim, there was a kitrug about about this Chassid Rebbe relationship. Is there this idea of a person, a Rebbe, who is completely 100% batel and with no ego and no identity, and therefore there is no personal property, and instead his whole mitzias is his connection to his Chassidim? So in heaven also there was an issue with that. And that reflected itself in the fact that there was a court case. Just like when the Alter Rebbe went to prison. It's because in heaven there was an issue which had to be resolved. And in Hey Tevis, the Chassid Rebbe relationship was ratified in heaven. And as a result of it being ratified in heaven, it was ratified over here also. And from that point on, it's a new tenufa, a new strength in the relationship between Chassid and Rebbe and our connection between Chassid and Rebbe. And the Rebbe said that on this day we should buy Sfarim. Now what's the connection? Well, obviously, the Chassidim won the Sfarim, but perhaps also it's connected in that this bond between Chassid and Rebbe is expressed in Sfarim. Especially now, after Gimel Tammuz, we don't see the Rebbe, we don't hear the Rebbe. So where's the bond? The bond is in the Sfarim. There's a sikha from the Rebbe, which the Rebbe said during this time, and it's on tape. It was a weekday Farbring, and the Rebbe said, and I get chills when I hear the sikha. The Rebbe says, and the Rebbe says this not in a pedantic, preachy way. The Rebbe has a broken voice, and the Rebbe is in a very sad tone of voice. The Rebbe says, he says, this person, the Rebbe would never say names, but this person, he says that it's 30 years that the Rebbe passed away. In other words, the previous Rebbe passed away. He says, how do I even talk to such a person? How do I have a safa mishutefas? How do I have a common language? When the fact is that the Rebbe is alive and well, he's talking about his father-in-law, the Friedrich Rebbe. This is in 1985. When the Rebbe is alive and well and becoming more alive and more well every single day and every single year, how can I talk to a person who thinks that the Rebbe is dead? In other words, because they were saying the Rebbe is dead, and therefore there's a Yerusha, therefore it's inheritance. The Rebbe is saying, and again, the Rebbe isn't like, it's the amazing thing about the Sikha, it's not the Rebbe's like, oh, the Rebbe's alive. There's a pain in the Rebbe's voice. Like, how can I talk to such a Meshugana? How could I talk to a strange person who thinks that the Rebbe is dead when the fact is that the Rebbe is alive and he's well and he's becoming more alive and more well every single day? In other words, you're looking at the body. That's the Rebbe is the neshama, and the neshama is alive and well, and the Rebbe is alive. And the Rebbe said it's very, very clear words. And therefore, when Yerusha, the Rebbe is alive.
That clip was on the Chabad.org front page like a day or two ago.
Right.
I heard it myself.
It's in. If you go Chabad, Jam put out a video called I think a movement on trial about Hey Tevis. What?
Yeah.
There's like 20-minute video.
But there's also, they have like a 5-minute trailer for the video, something of that sort. And this video is on the trailer. And you get chills when you hear it, what the Rebbe is saying. What?
Broken.
It's a broken voice. Like,
Yeah.
and a Rebbe doesn't die. A Rebbe is alive. But where is the Rebbe alive?
In the books.
In the Sfarim. In the
In
Sfarim.
his Hasidim.
In his Chassidim, and the Chassidim who learn his Torah. And the Chassidim who learn the Sfarim, perpetuate and learn the Torah. And perhaps that's the connection, or one of the connections between when the Rebbe is saying that we commemorate this day of Hey Tevis, which is about the idea of a Rebbe, and the connection between the Rebbe and Chassidim, and we commemorate it by buying Sfarim. And by buying Sfarim, we reattach ourselves and recommit ourselves and realize that all the tzaddikim are alive, they're alive in the Sfarim, and our Rebbe is alive and alive in the Sfarim, and we buy the Sfarim, we learn the Sfarim, and we increase our connection and our attachment to the Rebbe. So obviously this is very much a sidebar, but we're talking here about the relationship between a man and a woman, and Shlomo Melech says this is the ultimate relationship, and that's why our relationship with Hashem is compared to the relationship between a husband and a wife. So we segued a little into Hey Tevis Farbring and talking about how there's another relationship which is maybe even greater than that between a husband and a wife, and that is the relationship between Tina Rebbe and Chassid. And interestingly, by the way, if you look in the Geras HaKodesh, I have to find it though. We're if you look on page Kuf Yudalid, so this is a piece. If you read, it says Iraq It's like halfway down from the top of the page. You see the first word, the last word line is she'ishtoi. Opposite of page 226. The last word in the line is she'ishtoi, almost halfway down from the top of the page. Yeah. So he says, that according to the Torah, you have to take care of your wife and your kids before Al Pi Torah, before anyone else. Even they have obviously Yisrael to every Yid. Chutz, except mitzadikim shebedoyer, the tzadikim of the generation, shein koyin min lebanov, that come even before one's own children, one's own family. Mm-hmm. And by the way,
In regards to
in a what?
supporting them. In what capacity he's talking about?
In terms of support, in other words,
Money.
yeah, material, but that's a reflection of the relationship and the connection. That means that the connection to a tzaddik
It's
surpasses even the connection one has with own children. And by the way, these lines, this Tanya is a new Tanya. If you look in all the older editions of Tanya, you won't find this line. It was taken out by, I don't know, for the censors, whatever reason. You'll only find it in the Luach HaTikun, in the back. And Luach HaTikun is where they have but in the new Tanya, they put in they added in the whole Luach HaTikun. They fixed all that. So this is added over there. But the connection between a person and the tzaddik of the generation and the Rebbe, it goes beyond even the relationship with all mishpacha.
Did the other Hasidut, all the Gere, the Belter, they learn from this episode?
From Hetevis,
Yeah, to be connected to the Rebbe?
I hope so. You have to go and find one and ask them. I hope it. Listen, everything. This is for Klal Yisrael.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could say that you're saying that I think David the Rebbe said to buy Sforim. So I'm just thinking about that. I mean, you could say, well, what about learning? Which, of course, the Rebbe, I know that he was very interested in people hitting the books soon after the thing. I remember him talking about that, and definitely to learn. But what's the idea of buying? It just occurred to me now. What happened with the incident was this person was stealing. He was stealing Sforim, essentially. He was stealing. So now, sort of the tikkun would be, so what do? You buy. What do you do?
You buy the Sforim.
Yeah, probably.
So you're saying when we go downstairs after Shir, we should not steal the Sforim?
We should not steal the
That's
exactly right.
Well, it's brought down. If you buy,
his own.
does every person have to write Sefer Torah?
I mean,
But nowadays people don't know how to write, right?
To Sforim.
Well, you buy by buying the Sforim, it's like
Right.
writing the Sefer Torah, right?
But you're alluding also to a certain point,
Yeah.
which is that when the Sfarim were brought back, like I said, that was on Beis Kislev Tavshin Memches. So you had hundreds, maybe even thousands of Chassidim standing outside 770, and there was music and to greet the Sfarim as they come back. And the Rebbe came out and went to the oil, and the Rebbe saw the crowd there, and the Rebbe got very upset. He says, "What are you doing here? Go learn." The whole point of the Sfarim is to learn them, not to stand outside and play some music. Go learn. Yeah. Okay, further inside. 5 lines from the top of page Samach Vav. V'zeu shekasu, and v'zeu sho'imrim, and this is what we say, Asher Kiddushana b'mitzvah Yisav. And now the Alter Rebbe is going to give us a second understanding of Asher Kiddushana b'mitzvah Yisav. In case the first one wasn't enough for you to evoke this incredible Avat Hashem. Asher Kiddushana b'mitzvah Yisav. Can you imagine? Every time we do a mitzvah, think Asher Kiddushana b'mitzvah Yisav. The Eibush der Pashat married me with his mitzvahs. But now we're going to move to another understanding of Asher Kiddushanu. Shehelanu lemailas kodesh ha'elyin baruch hu. That he sanctified us, he made us holy with his mitzvahs, that the Eibush der elevated us to the level of kodesh ha'elyin.
What's Kodesh Elyon?
Shehi k'dushasei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chveido v'atzmai.
It's his domain.
The Kedusha of Hashem, that when we learn Torah, we do mitzvahs, we are as holy as Hashem. Kodesh. Not only Kodesh, but Kodesh. In Kabbalah, talk the difference between Kodesh and Kodesh. That Kodesh is an adjective, and Kodesh is a noun. Kodesh means you're describing something as holy. This is Kodesh. The Sefer is Kodesh. Kodesh, it means holiness. It's not describing. We're Kodesh, we're holiness. Not only something that is holy, Kodesh Elyon. We are holiness itself. And the Pasuk, Kedoshim Tiyu. The Pasuk says, Kedoshim Tiyu, So Rashi says on that, Yochel kamoini, you might think that you could be as holy as me. And he continues, Tamalemer, etc. In other words, there's a var from the Mori and Ayin, the Chernobyler, the Halakha Chernobyler, and he says, Yochel kamoini b'nichusa. Yochel kamoini, you could be as holy as me, takazeh. Not Yochel. When we learn Rashi, most of us learn it as a question. Yochel kamoini, you might think they could be as holy as me. So Rav Nachman of Chernobyl says, no, Yochel kamoini. The pasuk says Kedoshim to you, says Rashi, Yochel kamoini, you can be as holy as I am. That's what Hashem says to Yid. That through learning Torah and doing a mitzvahs, the Eibishter, we become as holy. It's the words of Alter Rebbe. We attain the Kedusha of Hashem. Asher Kedushana b'mitzvaysav, that through the mitzvahs He made us as holy as He is. These are mind-blowing words. And where were we? Where were we? In the garbage dump. We were in the garbage dump in Mitzrayim. Filthy. Memta Shari Tuma. Comes the Eibishter and He lifts us up to where? Tasher Kedeshana b'mitzvaysav. He marries us. Marries us means connects with us, but not only connect, because we can say He connects to us, and He's very high, and we're very low, but He connects to us, we become connected. No, the next meaning of Asher Kedeshana Mitzvaysav, He lifts us up to His level of Kedusha. And He continues. V'Kedusha, what does the word Kedusha mean? Kedusha, He Lashon Havdalah. We know the word Kodesh means something which is separated. And that's why, in fact, even in the Torah, sometimes you have derivatives of the word Kodesh, which means something entirely differently. But the word Kodesh always means something which is separated. Dedicated. Kadosh Umuvdal. It can be dedicated, but also B'derech Klal means separated. Masha Kadosh Baruch Hu Muvdal Ha'elamis. That the fact that the Eibishter is completely removed from the worlds, that's His Kaddish. This is the level of Seivuk Kalalman, the level of the Alakus, the Aryan Saf, which cannot enter the world because it is so transcendent of the world. That's the Kedusha that we're talking about. When we're saying that Hashem elevates us to His Kedusha, we're not talking about the level of godliness that descends into and enters our world, which is also pretty amazing.
Which is finite, though.
Yes, but which is also, that's the oir that's called, in Chassidus, that's the oir that's called Memali Kalalman, the oir that enters the worlds and gives the world the light and energy according to the definitions of everything in the world. And to say that we're on the level of that is also remarkable and incredible. But we're saying no. Because at the end of the day, Memali Kalalman isn't Kaddish. Kaddish, you even have, in terms of the Eibishter, we've had this before. There's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then there's the Shechina. We say with L'Shem Yichud Kudsha Brichu Shechinte. We want to bring together Kudsha Brichu, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Shechina. Shechina is the lower level of godliness. It's still the Shechina, but the word Shechina implies Shechenes. Shechenes U'Mishlabeshes. It resides. So it's not, Shechina is not Kaddish. It's not removed. To the contrary, the word Shechina means that it's present. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the level of the Eibishter which completely transcends worlds. So we say Asher Kiddeshanu b'mitzvaysav, that He made us Kaddish. He lifted us up to the level of Kaddish, of Kodesh Elyon. We're not talking about the level of Malach Laman. But when we do it, when we do Torah mitzvahs, we are completely beyond the worlds. Beyond even the dargis, the levels of Elikus that's within the worlds. Ki ayidei yichud hanefesh. Because through the unity of the nefesh, v'iskalalusa, and its being subsumed be'er ein sof, harehi b'mailas umadregas kedushas ein sof baruch hu mamish. Ma'achar, because it's on the level of the kedusha of the ein sof. Ma'achar shemisyachedas u'miskalalas b'yizbarach, because it is uniting and becoming subsumed in Hashem, v'hoyu l'chadem mamish. So here we are, tonight, sitting learning Torah, experiencing that which we're saying. At this very moment, when we're sitting here tonight learning Torah, we are right now on the level of the Kedusha of the Ein Sof. Out of Mitzrayim. Out of Mitzrayim. You have to understand, Chazal tell us that he stackled Be'eraisa Bara Alma. The Eibishter looked in the Torah and he created the world. The Torah is the blueprint of the world. We know Alpayim Shana Kadma Torah La'elam. The Torah preceded the world by 2,000 years, whatever that means. And that's because Torah and mitzvahs, Torah is Hashem's Chachma, and the mitzvahs are Hashem's Ratzon, and Hashem's Chachma and Hashem's Ratzon precede the world. They are the cause of the world. They are the reason why there is a world is because Hashem looked in the Torah and said, oh, so I have to create a world. But the Torah itself is beyond the world. Hashem's Ratzon, why is there a world? Because Hashem wanted there to be a world. Hashem's Ratzon is completely beyond the world. It's the mucker of the world. When we learn Torah and do mitzvahs and we are connecting to Hashem's Chachma and Hashem's Ratzon, we're essentially connecting to the levels of Elokus which are beyond the worlds, levels of Elokus which are beyond the worlds, the levels of Elokus which are the levels of godliness which are the mucker, the source of the world, but completely transcend the world. We're having, every time we learn Torah, we do mitzvahs, we're having an otherworldly experience in the truest sense of that word. This is what it says in the pasuk. Hashem says, "You'll be holy to me, because I am holy. Ani Hashem. Va'avdil eschem and amim. I've separated you from the nations. Li yesli. You're mine. You're with me." V'oimer, and another pasuk says, "Vasisim is called mitzvahs. Do all my mitzvahs. V'yisam kedoshim alikechem, and you'll be holy to the Eibishter. Ani Hashem alikechem." And what are the next words? He says here, but what are the next words? Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Asher Etzeisi Eschem Meretz Mitzrayim. I took you out of Mitzrayim, and what did I do? I brought you up to this level of Kodesh Elyon. Pirush, meaning, Ka'idei Kima Mitzvahs. What does it mean when Hashem says, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am your Hashem? When we do mitzvahs, Hashem says, Hareini Elika Shalachem. I am your God. Just like Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak. Shenikra Cain. Why is Hashem called Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, and Elokei Yaakov? Nesha Avis hayu b'chinas Merkava le'yizbarach. The Avis were Merkava Hashem. U'b'teilim v'nechlalim be'oireh, completely bottled Hashem and subsumed in His light. You know that when Hashem revealed Himself to Moshe in the burning bush, He says, go to Yidden and tell them, Hashem Elokei Avisechem, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Shlachani Aleichem. I'm sent by Elokei Avram. What's this Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov? You should have said Hashem created the world. Isn't that a much bigger, more impressive thing? You should have said, go tell them the God who created the world sent me to you. What's the God who is Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov? So it's brought down in Sfarim. The beer on this is Hashem created the world, yes, but in the world Hashem is behelim. Hashem is concealed in the world. By the Avos, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, it was Begilui. It was Begilui because they were completely bottled. The Avos were completely bottled to Hashem. To the point that we can say Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, that this is the Hashem of Avram, the Hashem of Yitzchak, the Hashem of Yaakov. And when we do a mitzvah, Hashem says, Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am your God. Just like Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. So it's Elokei Ruvain and Elokei David. I should remember that. And all the Eibishter is our God because we are completely at that moment being bottled to the Eibishter. And again, all of this is just leading us to this tremendous understanding that if we really contemplate this idea and just realize just how much Ava we should have, but it's not even about just how much Ava we should have. The point of these prakim, as Alter Rebbe is saying, is that when we contemplate this properly, the love will be automatic. It can't be otherwise. Because kamayim apanim lapanim, kein lev ha'adam al ha'adam. Yeah.
When you first taught this, since teaching from, I guess it was last week, when you're talking about Hashem's love for us, and then on the dunghill, and it comes down, the question that came to me during the week is, why? Okay, why is Hashem showing His love? So, I mean, I came up with some things, but why? You know, why? I guess one answer is that it's a reward for the Avos, because the Avos served Hashem, and He said, "I'm going to reward you for your children." So, I guess that's potentially one answer. Why?
Another answer will be forthcoming in Perek Memtes.